There was already buzz about her death, asphyxiation, vomit on her breath. Her tattered wrists between the gates extend and try to swipe the cheek she once caressed. Helena was my girlfriend since high school. We didn't go to college afterwards. Instead, we continued our part-time jobs. She was the store's cashier. I pushed the carts. There was a time when nymphs and satyrs plagued the earth. We were their descendants, cashiers and cart attendants. Oh, get a tattoo, she told me one day in her room, which was in the attic of her parents' house. I'll hold your hand the entire time. We can get matching ones. It won't even hurt. She said this with her fingers wrapped around my wrist. I have always been a timid but eccentric man. Anyone who looked in on us might have thought I was shy with her, but I wasn't. I was speechless with her. My speechlessness started when we found out we had similar music tastes and amplified upon our discovery of our shared love of old silent horror films. No one recognized me, but I was the Phantom from Phantom of the Opera one Halloween. Because I was the Lon Chaney version, no one recognized his mask, but Helena, who was Kristen Dye, knew who I was, and she kept ripping off the mask, saying, "It doesn't work, you're not ugly like him." And she doted on me before another round of trick-or-treaters came. She made the many "what are you supposed to be" remarks I got bearable that Halloween. They never questioned who she was, because to them, she was just a girl in a white dress, perfectly acceptable for Halloween. She curled her hair into ringlets that night. The film's unmasking scene replayed that night. She made me shamble down the stairs in grief to replicate the Mask of Red Death scene. Helena had depression that she hid. She even kept me unaware of it. She swiped and scanned too many artifacts, too many days inside the retail store, too many days perpetually bored. I wasn't there the night she drank the rum and puked the contents of her stomach up alone inside the attic, unbeknownst. Whenever a young person dies, it's on the news, but the news becomes a broadcast of grim fairy tales when you knew the young who died. They buried her in the dress she wore that Halloween, so I felt underdressed at her funeral because I wasn't wearing my phantom mask. At least I would have had something to hide my tears in then. I can't forget the way her parents cried when the coffin was lowered in Pine Grove Cemetery. Her bottle had almost become as shiny as transparent as that bottle of Bacardi they found the night she puked herself to death. It was evident, and the attic scene was on all our minds as the coffin lowered down. She had attempted self-medication. I swear, I'll never touch a drop of rum as long as I live. We never went to the tattoo artist's shop together. My skin has no indigo tapestry to remember her by, just the kisses fading out of my lips. They were surprised to see me come to work the following day. I was deadpan, as if she had never even existed. In reality, I was in the earthquake of emotional trauma happening in real time, and it made me so still. Collecting shopping carts and bringing them into the store was a stale solace, but I saw the cashier who had replaced Helena and saw her every time I brought carts into the store. That night, when it was cold and dark as the deepest part of the coldest sea, I walked instead of drove to Pine Grove Cemetery to visit Helena's grave. I wanted to tell her I missed her. There's this local legend that the stone wall surrounding Pine Grove Cemetery is the second longest wall ever built, second behind that one in China. This wall is caked with so much moss that you might believe it's true. Big rocks and cobblestones make up the 8-foot wall, and it didn't feel so long that night I walked towards Pine Grove. The occasional car sped by, sending headlights on and past me, cutting the air in its wake and returning me to the chill of night. I could smell the damp musk of the moss as I walking towards the cemetery gates. It's a cold and swampy smell, similar to the smell of a coming rainstorm, but of the rainstorms that have passed. There was the dog park on the other side of the street, vacant of course in the night. Not even a coyote from Lynn Woods was in it. There were no crickets either, for it was too chilly for them. Instead of bats or owls, only cars passed by me that night, grim reminders of man. How beat my heart en route to where she lay, the air awaiting Jacob Marley's chains, the anxious cemetery trembling. There came an irregular struggle ahead, a rattling at the point where a gap came into the wall where the cemetery gates were. I should have known they'd be chained and barred, but I continued my approach anyway. Something disturbed the cemetery gate. I heard it in its steel turmoil shake, and knowing that each black bar of the gate was pointed made the sound all the more ominous. The closer that I got to the shaking cemetery gates, the more distinct a drugstore smell became. Formaldehyde, Helena's new perfume. It smelled like antifreeze, strawberry cough syrup. I stopped in front of the gate when I saw what was shaking it, what was crashing against in a solitary style. Helena's body was beating against the black gate, shambling back and forth, and walking into it as if that was all the mechanics of her body was designed to do. My eyes expanded. I nearly stepped backwards out into the middle of the road. A car passed and brought with it a passing light that flew along the cemetery wall, over towards the gate and over the face behind it. Her new appearance looked ancient, not new. Her eyes weren't ringed with bags of sleep, but ringed by brown signs of decay, the skin around her eyes banana bruised. Her teeth were white, but purple were her lips, deprived of what she used to breathe with me. Her eyes were now as pale as crystal balls, the crystal balls in which no future sees. Her dress was white, except for a few grass stains. Her hair still had the product the embalmers put in it when she was buried, so her brunette hair went shining as the car headlight dragged itself away and went back to inanimate brown as all the mud is without the moonlight. "Helena," I murmured, "I miss you." Her arms came jutting out between the bars. I flinched, repelling from her reaching nails. How fruitlessly she forced her face between the bars. I watched her body crash against the gate. I must have watched for hours in dismay. She didn't love me like she loved me yesterday, or did she? If I put my face up to the cemetery gate, the rattling cemetery gate from where a pair of feminine arms dug and clawed the air, no, I wouldn't. I recounted the details of her death, interrupted with details of our love. These details of our love were ones I forced out of my throat in pain while my eyes wailed. I remember murmuring about how they had found her. I think I was babbling the details of her death to her in case she didn't know how she died. But all of my whining was done in vain because her empty crystal ball eyes didn't change. I stood there until the sun came out of Lynn Woods and turned the sick, into an insipid yellow. The body that once belonged to Helena seemed to tire at the coming of the light, and she started shambling backwards while Pine Grove's lawns were being slowly turned from dark verdant green to bright lime colors. It was uncomfortable to no longer hear the shaking gate, to no longer hear her body crashing against it. So there, I watched her recede back to what lot she had been interred. I remained at the now inert cemetery gate as the drums of my heart settled down before I walked home.